Hello, and welcome to this episode of Walks on the Beach. These particular episodes are, well, thoughts that I've had. I find all of my peace when I walk along the beach. When I have a tough decision to make, or something to really think about, or just in general contemplating life, well, that's when I go to the beach. Sand in my toes, the subtle crash of water along the beach, the waves, the cool breeze. I seem to experience something at a level, well, feels like freedom. Feels like no matter what I decide, it's the right decision, just because it feels good. I enjoy sometimes sitting in a chair and reading a good book. I enjoy the beach. And in this episode, well, I'm going to share with you that you don't need to be fixed. That was something that I realized, and I hope you do too at the end of this episode. Let's go to the beach. You don't need to be fixed. There was several times in my life that I had that idea. I needed to be fixed. I was broken. But how was I broken? And what was broken? That always seemed very perplexing to me, is that I had a situation, but I didn't know how to fix it. And I kind of, well, have a problem solving mindset. So when I see something that needs attention, well, I get right to it and I fix it. I don't wait. So when it came to me and feeling like maybe I was broken, well, I immediately wanted to fix it. But how do you fix what you don't know is broken? I guess when I look back a little bit, it was maybe relationships were probably the key factor. That seemed to be a pretty good constant in my life, and just couldn't really narrow down what it was about it until I walked on the beach. Actually, I'd thought about it a few times sitting on the beach, so this wasn't the first time. But this was kind of the final straw for me. The final straw where I just needed to be alone. Being alone was better for me. Being alone was healthy. I share this with you because sometimes you got to be alone. You have to effectively be alone. Let me be clear. You can't be alone and be busy. You can't be alone and be with friends. You can't be alone and have that new relationship. You have to be alone. I think one of the things I realized was through several of the other relationships is kind of they spawned into the other. As one was falling apart and I was broken, that I needed to go to the next one and go to the next one. And it wasn't until I stopped. And I don't know that it was a solid commitment. I didn't quite, make an oath to myself, but man, I certainly just said, I kind of gave up, you know, kind of gave up. And I just said, I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to get into a relationship. I kind of reached the point of just being tired, quite frankly. And I was like, I'm tired of trying. I'm tired of figuring it out. I'm not broken. I don't need to be fixed. I just need to figure out what it is that this is actually all about. What is actually going on? And I think once we finally slow down and stop and do this exercise that I'm sharing with you, I think there's a huge amount of clarity, an unbelievable amount of clarity. And so the walk on the beach was a little bit of the affirmation that I told myself is that I'm okay. I'm out here alone on the beach and I'm walking. I don't need someone to walk with me. I can see where to go. If you go one direction, you're in the water. You go the other direction, you're in more sand. But I was walking the coast. I realized I can do things by myself. I realized I can handle myself. And I realized I'm okay with myself. I don't need to be fixed. I'm not broken. I'm who I am. What I did kind of understand was maybe to find my soul's purpose. I hope that each one of you might find yours sooner than I did. It took me almost half of my life, although I did not necessarily pay attention. I didn't take early, let me back up. I didn't take early enough walks on the beach with purpose, I think is my problem. I walked on the beach most of my life, but with purpose is the important part. So it was when I finally understood more of my soul's purpose and started acting in that manner, in that direction. Well, then that kind of changed things. But nonetheless, I wasn't broken. I just wasn't making the right decisions. I don't think the first decision was necessarily in haste. I think it was because I wanted something different. I wanted to explore. I kind of got good at what I was doing and I enjoyed it. And I was also a little too young to understand really how cool it was. I mean, I was just doing it because that's what I've always done. But when I look back now, yeah, I probably could have done the cool thing much longer. And that was being the first mate engineer on a 100-foot motor yacht. Certainly worked my way up to captain and could hang out there for a while. But I don't know, I felt like I wouldn't say I mastered it, but I appreciated it enough to be good to not do it anymore. And I walked away. But what I was striving for was to have a relationship. In a weird sort of way, I kind of wanted the home and I kind of wanted the family and I kind of wanted the routine outside or off the water, if you will, to do things as a community. Because you're really sort of detached being on a boat. It's a little bit of a life of a gypsy. You know, you see people and friends you meet on the water and we gather in reoccurring locations or traveling and bump into each other in just amazing spots. Like, hey, what are you doing here? And all of a sudden you find out how their life changed and it's really a tight community on the water. Not that I didn't enjoy it. I just, yeah, wanted to change. But it seemed like that relationship wasn't the best fit for me. And it seemed like what I was after, don't know that they were after. And well, kind of fell apart. And we walked away. I guess it was about 6 months that I found myself yearning for another relationship. Although being much smarter and wiser, I sought the next one. A little bit more structure, a little bit more advanced, with a little bit more freedom. And yet I chose the life of a gypsy and traveling on the road. I still got to spend time on the beach, but most of my life was on the road. Traveling, living on the road, staying on the road. It was okay, but I felt like it was life of a gypsy again. I wanted to be part of a community, like I kind of was before, or at least trying to be. And that relationship seemed to manage that alteration or change in life, but I can't say that it was getting any stronger or any better. And of course, it fell apart. And I moved on to another relationship. But the one thing I didn't do was pause. I didn't take long enough time to realign with myself. Until then, when I walked on the beach yet again with purpose. And I remember walking down the beach for quite a while. And I remember just saying I'm going to keep walking until I get an answer. So, and I did. I walked, I walked a lot, but I did finally get an answer, which time I could stop walking. But it was a pretty good part of a day that I walked. And I wasn't tiresome from walking because I was focused on getting an answer. I said, I am going to get some resolution from this. I'm going to get some level of understanding from this. I'm not going to quit. So it can happen in the first few steps or in the first next 1,000 steps. At that, I really didn't care. I wasn't counting. I wasn't paying attention. In fact, I didn't realize how many steps until I looked at my watch app that tells what your steps are. I didn't care. I was walking for a purpose, was to get an answer. And that answer that I received was that I didn't need to be fixed. I wasn't broken. I have my flaws, but some of my flaws, well, they come about when I'm not comfortable. They come about from stress. They come about when trying too hard. And how many of you out there have like really tried really hard at something? Like really hard. I mean, put your blood, sweat, and tears into something and still it not come to fruition. It's frustrating. I know. Walk on the beach until you get an answer. The answer will come. And yeah, I don't know that I like the answer. I kind of learned to live with the answer. And it was, again, that I didn't need to get fixed, but I did need to figure it out. And part of that answer was also that I didn't need to be with anyone for a year, at least a year, a minimum of a year. After a year, do what you want. But until then, commit to a year. It's only a year, 365 days. And part of that year was kind of ignoring the situation. Another part of the year was trying to figure it out in a faster manner. Another part of that year was getting frustrated that things weren't coming together. And another part of the year, well, I guess it was sprinkled with a little bit of giving up once in a while, only to realize that it's still there. It's that giant elephant in the room that you can't ignore. And so I was reminded that, well, I have to face this. I have to figure it out. I have to be vigilant. It has to be top of mind. Not that I was intensely focused or worried upon it, but I started to get into a mode of being uncomfortable that I wasn't thinking about it. So I would try to have it in my mental to-do list to at least consider it every day, whether it was the beginning of the day, at the end of the night, just consider it. What is it about me? What is it that I want? Because I'm not broken. I'm me. But what does me offer? What does me want? What makes me happy? And kind of answering those questions, as well as not being satisfied with just one answer. Because there's several things that honestly make me happy, but what genuinely, to the core, what spiritually makes me happy? What makes my soul tingle that really makes me feel like a whole person? What does that look like for you? What is that one thing that you do or haven't done yet? Maybe there's a few things that have tickled it, but I mean, really is just set the fire to your soul where you're as the a religious group might say, doing the Lord's work. You're doing your work. You're doing what just blows in passion, just emits from you like steam constantly every day, wakes you up in the morning and keeps you relentlessly going until you finally crash at the end of the day, only to wake up again with so much energy, regardless of how you slept. What is that? That's your soul's purpose. And finding that out and understanding how to circumnavigate that, well, that brought a little bit more clarity that I didn't need fixed, that I wasn't broken. I was misaligned. I wasn't in the right direction. My sails weren't set. I wasn't following the course that effectively allowed me to embrace the wind and not combat the wind. Any of you who have sailed in the waters behind me, you know that sometimes sailing can be a struggle if you're trying to hold a specific course and you've got the wind blowing into your sails. But if you alter just a few degrees and change your tack, well, now the wind can gracefully push you and not combat you. And you just change the tack of your, or the path of your tack. Well, that's kind of what I did. I changed the path. I changed what I was doing from the core. And it wasn't drastic because I was kind of already doing it anyway. But I will admit, for this moment in time, I did kind of get lazy and I wasn't preparing the right food. And I was okay with just eating things that I ate. Most likely not the best for you, but it wasn't bad. But I also realized I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't happy with myself. And I didn't look good in a t-shirt. And so I started with the simple things like what I did every day, like eating. Then I worked my way up to what I look at in the mirror and how I look at myself in the mirror. And then it was a little bit of my mindset about how I felt about myself, both my past. Was I okay with it? Did I always have this sense of regret? Did I wonder what ifs? Was I content with my present, no matter what the situation was? And what did I see my future looking like? And looking at myself in the mirror and being okay with it and being able to say, no matter what, I still love you. That was a big thing. That was a huge thing, really. And then loving yourself in the present and then seeing yourself in the future and sort of relentlessly seeing yourself in the future. And if you didn't like that future, how do you change that future so that when you see yourself in the future, it's the future you want, the future you'll appreciate? Because many people, I think you see yourselves out there wanting to do something for whatever reason. I'm not here to judge. But then when you get that satisfaction, is it true happiness or is it just sort of the win? And if you did it for the win, well, that's great, but wins sort of go by the wayside. I mean, I think of all the Olympic medal people that strive for that 1,000th of an inch of competition at that level, where you are 1,000th of an inch running over a line, or your score is 1,000th of a point from the person that did a flip better than you, or the ice skating, or whatever. There's so many of the sport, but it's just that thousandths of an inch difference to strive for this gold medal that sometimes just sits on a shelf. It's a win. Hey, I'm not knocking Olympians, but it's just like it's a win, then it's over. But where's the sustainable win? Where's that win that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life? That's not going to be a medal or a trophy on the shelf, but it's going to be one inside your soul, one that keeps and feeds you constantly. So when there are those long nights of not eating, but you're busy relentlessly pursuing this dream, that you don't regret the fact that you went through all the pain and suffering to get to this point, that you can look at that through gratitude, that suffering through appreciation, that it made it worth it. Those are the sustainable wins. So understanding that helped reassure that I don't need to be fixed. I need to be focused. I need to be living my true, authentic self and doing what I was meant to do. And not necessarily doing what someone thinks I should do or doing what needs to get done. And I mean, sometimes that's the point of sacrifice, is doing what needs to get done. Maybe you have to work that extra job or figure out a way to, you know, deliver pizzas to make some extra cash, to pay off some bills, to free up your daily income to be able to pursue your dream. Whatever that thing that's going to catapult your life, well, you got to sacrifice and do that. But it's not a fix, it's a focus. You're not broken, you're just misaligned. And whatever puts you into that situation, well, it's just fixable through simple alignment. It's not that you're broken. You don't need fixed. You just need altered. And altering, as I mentioned, with, first of all, just what you eat, how you feel about yourself is a good place to start. Because quite frankly, if you eat crappy food, well, you're going to feel crappy. And if you look in the mirror and you see crap, well, you're going to see crap. The mirror reflects what it sees. And if you feel, even though something in front of you is wonderful in this mirror, and you look at it and see and feel crappy, well, that's your mindset. And you got to change that too. So get out on the beach and walk a little bit and say, how do I change my mindset? And start asking yourself. The answers truly are within, but you do have to be quiet. You not necessarily still, but you have to be in that relentless pursuit of what makes me me, what makes me better, what can make me better. And once you understand and focus on that, well, then life begins to change. Because it's still always happening for you, not to you. And you start to see the things that are happening for you, even though they may be a little speed bump in your life, they're helping you grow. And you should look at those with gratitude and not say, I need to be fixed. But look at them and say, hey, this is wonderful. This is an awesome opportunity. I love this aspect of this life, that it's sharing with me in the mirror things about me I need to grow and handle. But you don't need fixed. Just need alignment and understanding to how to best navigate your life. So you want to feel good physically. You want to feel good mentally. I think from those two things comes a level of confidence that anything is possible. And then once you have those three in place, start asking yourself, what is it I am to do? Maybe you're already doing it. You just need to align it a little different. Maybe you're a great social person, just not doing the social thing you're supposed to do, which is why it may feel difficult. Maybe you're a great storyteller. You're just telling your stories to the wrong people or in the wrong format, in the wrong way. Maybe you're a great organizer and you're just organizing the wrong things. See, everyone has a soul's purpose. I found mine, and I think my purpose is to strive to make sure that people find theirs. And if it's inviting you to the beach, to have a walk and a talk, well, so be it. That's what we need to do to better ourselves. And if you're in the middle of somewhere that doesn't have a beach, find a reservoir, find a lake, find a pond. Somewhere there's some water that has some sand. I feel like water and sand are the foundation of solitude. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but I think it's where solitude is found because it's ever changing. You know how they say that there's calm in a world of chaos? Well, I think it's the same. Depending on the strength of the wind, the waves are crashing relentlessly upon the beach, and it's always moving. And the sand, yeah, it looks stationary by the naked eye, but it moves. It gets infused with water and it floats and settles and floats and settles. And depending on the intensity of those waves, it can wash out and then come back again. It's moving. And what's interesting is you and I have nothing to do with it. It's doing it because it's what it does. There's a much bigger thing making the waves move and the water move, making the sand move without our given hand. And so I hope this demonstrates a little bit of where I find this solace is that in this world where things are moving around, you can find your stillness. You can find your soul's purpose. You can find what you're designed to do to live your best life. And once you're doing that, then I think you start attracting the people that are meant to be around you. And then you have those outstanding relationships, the ones that ironically become easy in a world that has been so hard. You, I don't want to say the word give up, but you become a little bit more relaxed to allow that which is around you to just happen, to just occur. But I also will put a caveat on this is that it's with purpose. Like a drastic change in my life was because I demanded a change in my life. I didn't like where I was. And I asked myself on that beach, how do things change? How do I make things change? How do I implement change in my current situation? And when I got to the ultimate question of what is the ultimate thing I can do to change? If I can't alter the world within, like the daily that I'm doing, then I begin to ask myself, what are the drastic measures that I need to implement in order to do what it is I need to do? And you have to be okay with those drastic measures. And I'm not saying just on a whim, go take a drastic measure, but after you've walked on the beach like I did and kept asking, how can this be altered? How can this be aligned? And there's no solution. Then I started asking, what's the ultimate? What is the ultimate action that I can do to change? And that ultimate action was just being fed up. I didn't need fixed, I needed focus. And from that focus and being fed up, that I made the ultimate change. And I won't say that it was necessarily done solely by myself. I implemented it from others, where it was encouraged and sometimes demanded that that individual said, you know what, maybe this needs to go this way. And I agreed. And I went that way. And I took that change with purpose. But I will say that you need to take, as I mentioned earlier, that pause and that focus in between to realign yourself and understand where's the waves, where's the wind, what direction are you ultimately going into, and then set the sails on your boat to go in that direction most efficiently and effectively, so that there is no drama and there is no chaos in your life. And the things that happen in life, yeah, they're for you, not to you, but they're speed bumps. They're not tragedies. They're not life altering. They're not something that's so damn devastating that you wake up wondering, is another day worth it? Or what are you doing in this position of life? When you start questioning like that, I can agree with you that things are not going well and you drastically need to make those changes. And I'm not saying remove yourself from, I'm saying realign. Don't take yourself out of that situation. Realign to understand it's not your situation and that you have a different situation and that you need to go find that solace and peace. You need to go be by yourself at whatever cost. Be by yourself. I'm not saying be away from it completely. I'm saying you need to be alone and discover for yourself what it is that you're here for and what you're supposed to do. And then if it aligns through conversation that maybe didn't occur before with that other party that you're involved with, then you've aligned, you found the wind, and you're setting a course for smooth seas and calm winds. But you may also find that part of this alignment is that you have to change course. You have to change direction. The future you were seeking just isn't there. And quite frankly, it wasn't your future. And to be okay and accept that. And to be grateful for the opportunities to not only have that education, but be grateful that you have the opportunity to move on and to move forward. Don't give up. I think that's one of the worst things to do is just give up and either suffer through or to completely remove yourself from a situation where you're not living your soul's purpose anymore. If you are at that position in life and you desperately just don't know your soul's purpose, talk to someone, anyone, preferably a professional. But I think finding your soul's purpose helps you realign at the keel of your ship and directly will start putting you in that direction to understand gratitude. But don't seek some alternative method just because situations don't look great now. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be focused. And so focus on, first of all, getting help. And second of all, understanding the true situation you need to be in is possibly alone, to regroup and to redefine who you are and what you are to do in this life. We all have gifts. And I hope and pray each day that I am allowing you to find your gift, whether it's with this cast, whether it's a production, whether it's a couple of the episodes that I've shared with you, is that you understand you have a duty in this life to do something. Find that duty, do it, and fulfill it. And yeah, you can compound upon your soul's purpose. I'm not saying you have to find your soul's purpose and be stuck with it. That's just your route. That's your keel. The different sails that you set following your course of your future, you know what it is. When you get still and quiet with yourself, oh, it hits you like a brick, like a seashell on the forehead. Yes, it does. And then you know what it is you're to do, and you start building upon that. And it may take a couple of years. Just be patient and understand you're doing what you are meant to do, what you are supposed to do. But you don't need to get fixed. Just need to get focused. Living your best life, our best life, with yourself and with your partner, whether it's your current partner or one you choose in the future. The ultimate goal is to live your best life, to enjoy this life. And then, like me, Now, I walk the beach with gratitude and with wonder and amazement as the seashells look beautiful and they don't hurt my feet. And as the calm crash of the waves aren't from a storm, they're from the relentless energy getting put towards my soul's purpose each and every day. And the sand between my toes, well, that's just that comfort feeling that I'm home. I'm where I'm supposed to be. And as the water rushes over my feet, cool and refreshing, I'm reminded that I'm still in motion and I'm still doing what I'm supposed to do. The walks on the beach are more pleasant. And I still ask myself questions and still look for insight, but it's not the struggle. It's not the struggle of walking until I get an answer because I'm so frustrated. It's because I've tuned myself to be healthy and to be focused. So when I do set my feet upon that beach and I begin walking, the answers start to flow like the waves crashing on the beach. I've pretty much trained myself through discipline and demand that this is what we're here for. And this is what I want. And you may too get to a point where you don't even think about things and just walk on the beach, your proverbial beach, and things just start coming to you because you've built that muscle and created that repetition where you no longer have to ask questions. You just begin to get insight when you begin walking on the beach. We don't need to get fixed. We just need to get focused. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Walks on the Beach and have learned that you're not broken. You don't need fixed. You just need to align and focus with your soul's purpose to begin living your best life, the life you were meant to live. Thank you for joining me. Make it a great day.